One of the state's key witnesses, one of the perpetrators of the attack on Kyle Rittenhouse, Gage Grosskreutz, appeared on Good Morning America and then CNN to clarify the statements he made while he was under oath. In his news statements, he's basically saying he didn't point a weapon at Kyle Rittenhouse, and he did this on national television, and they let him do it. To be fair, on CNN, Anderson Cooper said, "I'm going to play the clip from the trial." And I respect it, because in the clip from the trial, the defense says it wasn't until you pointed your weapon at Kyle Rittenhouse, advanced on him with your hands down, gun pointed at him, that he shot you. In that video, Gage Grosskreutz says yes. And that is under oath. Now he appears on TV and says, no, I didn't. And we're supposed to believe him. Worse still, many people will believe him. I believe the Good Morning America interview was gross misconduct on the part of the press. And as for CNN, I actually think they did a good job. Now, the dude still went on TV and tried lying, but good on Anderson Cooper for playing the clip, because I think we've got to rely on people to understand the truth. Now, tribalists are still going to deflect and be like, oh, see, the defense tricked him or something. But I think there's a big difference between being under oath and being on TV, where you can say whatever you want. On Good Morning America, that's what he was basically told by, what's the guy's name, Michael Strahan or whatever. He was like, you can just say whatever you want. You're safe here. And he's like, okay, I didn't point the gun at him. Yeah, because you're not going to get charged for perjury for lying to TV. But on the stand, when this dude admitted he pointed a weapon at Kyle Rittenhouse, yeah, that is under oath. So again, I will stress. In the interview with CNN, Anderson Cooper says, I want to play the clip from the trial. And let's see if Twitter loads it. It's not loading it. All right, whatever. You get the point. He actually plays the clip. Now, there's a few things that need to be addressed as far as it goes with media lies and how the court's been manipulating and cheating. And I think one of the big stories right now is how many leftists are waking up to the truth. You see, someone like Gage Grosskreutz going on TV and lying, it may keep some of the NPCs trapped in bubble world where they only hear the lies and the nonsense. But a lot of regular people, a lot of leftists, a lot of progressives have been watching the trial, and seeing them on Twitter has been shocking. Notably, we talked about Anna Kasparian. But now we have a bunch of other people. We have smaller Twitter users, and we have high-profile verified accounts saying, I was wrong and I'm sorry. This is the way the culture war has been working. There are those of us who know the truth. They will claim in the media that anybody who says the truth is right-wing. They'll accuse me of being right-wing when I'm clearly not politically right-wing. But as they continue to draw the dividing line between honesty and deception and say that honesty is right-wing and deception is left-wing, well, then I guess sure. What does left and right really mean? I mean, when we're talking about economics or progressive versus traditional issues, cultural issues, then left typically means like command economy, centralized control via the government, and typically means progressivism. And the right typically means free market enterprise, decentralization, and liberty. I don't really think that makes sense in the big picture because there are left libertarians. But if we're really talking about the culture war, then I can tell you this. The reason why they accuse me of being right-wing, because I'll tell the truth. Kyle Rittenhouse was acting in self-defense. Aha, that means you're right-wing. Oh, now all of these leftists are starting to watch the trial and they're like, wow, we were wrong. And therein lies the big problem that we have in this country. The press is unsalvageable. They are evil, despicable people who seek to destroy and cause harm. And they have allies because it is not just the media, it is the cult. In the bigger picture, let me break something down for you. I made a tweet, and it was meant to make a point, but some people, thought it was funny. I said, people keep trying to cheer on this Kenosha guy. He shows up to Kenosha from far away with a gun he's not illegally allowed to possess, telling everybody he's an EMT and he's there to provide aid, and then he ends up attacking people with his gun. Of course, I'm talking about Gage Grosskreutz, not Kyle Rittenhouse. Gage Grosskreutz was from 40 or so miles away, shows up to a riot with a gun he's in illegal possession of, claiming he's an EMT when he's not, and then he attacked people. Yet they don't say that on the left. Now, I'm not here to talk about, I will point out those similarities between Kyle Rittenhouse and Gage Grosskreutz. It's important. The media doesn't do it. The media keeps saying the lone survivor and the wounded EMT. He's not an EMT. Apparently, his EMT license expired like 4 years ago, so 3 years before the event in question. And I don't know if that, for sure. That's just preliminary information that's come out through various reports. So I want to make sure I'm being clear, because I didn't actually go into the database and then ask the courts or whatever if his paperwork is legal. But he's not an EMT. He's as EMT as Kyle Rittenhouse is. Take a look at this. Let me pull up some more tweets and show you what's going on. In the trial, there were several attempts to lie and cheat on the part of the prosecution. And so when I talk about criticism of the media, Good Morning America allowing this guy to go on TV and lie, Good Morning America also called Kyle Rittenhouse a murderer and had to delete the tweet. But I want to talk about how the prosecution also, these are evil people. We must not, look, in the past, I'd say something like, never attribute to malice that which can be explained by incompetence. It's called Hanlon's razor. I still stand by Hanlon's razor. However, the point about what can be explained by incompetence, this is the important point. Never attribute to malice that which can be explained by incompetence. You cannot explain the prosecution's multiple attempts at violating the Constitution and admitting false evidence as incompetence. Incompetence is fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Incompetence is like, this dude made a clear mistake. When the prosecutor is told explicitly, do not admit that as evidence, and then he does, that is not incompetence. That is willfully violating a court ruling and getting admonished for it. And then when he questions Drew Hernandez the other day, Drew Hernandez, a journalist, and he says, you say you're a journalist, but you put out opinion. And Drew's like, what? And he looks at the judge like, what is this? The prosecution trying to bring up political bias in a trial with a fact witness who has testified to what they saw, their bias meaningless. They're under oath. Regardless of their bias, they've made a fact statement. If you think they're lying about it, then bring perjury charges. But this is what they do. Evil people have been encroaching in our institutions. Let me show you this image. This is Gage Grosskreutz, who showed up to a riot with a gun he was in illegal possession of, who is not an EMT, who is a revolutionary there for political purposes, who has said, long live the revolution, who attacked Kyle Rittenhouse with no knowledge of what had happened. I want to stress this point for everybody. They say things like he was trying to stop a mass shooter. Definitively proven in court, not true. Gage Grosskreutz testified he didn't know about any shooting. He didn't witness any shooting. He had no reason to believe that Kyle Rittenhouse had committed any shooting. All he knew, according to his own testimony, was that Kyle Rittenhouse said he was working with the police. And based on that information alone, he ran at him and pulled out a gun and pointed it at him. Now, it is not true. Kyle Rittenhouse never said he was working with the police. But Gage Grosskreutz, in multiple police statements, said that's what he thought. So in his frame of mind, he was thinking, police informant, I will pull out my gun and attack. This narrative is of stopping a mass shooter is bunk. Now, in his testimony, he said it's a very large caliber rifle. I'm nitpicking here a little bit, because a .223 is not a very large caliber rifle. The reason why we use so .223 and 5.56 are interchangeable. They're not the same rounds. I believe 5.56 has higher chamber pressure, so typically faster, higher velocity and things like that. But they're interchangeable, meaning they look almost identical. The size of the round. Again, the pressure, I believe, is different. You can't put a 5.56 in a .223, but you can put a .223 in a 5.56. That being said, it is not a very large caliber rifle. .223 and 5. We use 5.56 typically because in war, in combat, you want to be able to carry more rounds. The idea being that these are particularly powerful, and being able to fire more rounds is better than being able to fire one big round. But as you can see in the image, there are many, many more rounds that are much, much larger. The next, I believe, fairly common round, a .308 or a .762, are particularly larger. So when he says it's a very large caliber rifle, in fact, when it comes to a rifle, a 223 is particularly small. Now, I'm not going to say it's a 17, super mag or whatever. They're very small, but they have high velocity and they'll like vaporize a beaver or whatever, whatever it is you're firing upon. But it's not a very large caliber rifle. This is an attempt, in my opinion. I know I'm nitpicking because it's not the biggest issue in the world, but this is one example of how they try to pull a fast one on the jury. They try to lie to manipulate the jury, which brings me to the next most important thing that happened the other day. And again, I want to stress too, I got a bunch of stuff to show you of leftists acknowledging they were wrong and Kyle Rittenhouse is not guilty. And I'll show that, but I got to go through how the prosecution is trying to lie, cheat, and steal, and how this whole system is. Let this be evidence, my friends, of how they lie to you in the press. From Legal Insurrection. Rittenhouse trial day 8. Prosecution's last desperate lunge for evidence of guilt. Final day of evidence introduces enhanced images purporting to show Kyle's provocation. Here's the image in question. Can you see anything? I'm not going to prime you for what this image is. I am not going to tell you what this image is. Take a look on the screen and you tell me what you see. And you know what people will say? I have no idea what that is. Because in reality, you don't. So this is the image that was admitted, which is fake. A fake image. That's right. It's fake. Let me explain. A drone had been filming the night in question. The prosecution got it only the previous week. It was admitted into evidence. You don't really see much of anything new on the drone footage. However, the prosecution, having now a grainy, incomprehensible bit of footage, purported, they claimed to the jury that it shows Kyle Rittenhouse pointing his weapon at people before he was attacked by Joseph Rosenbaum and Zeminski, who was armed. And in fact, you can't see anything in this video. Now, here's where it gets really important. The original image is a crop from a video, and it is very blurry and grainy because the drone was too far away to actually see anything. The image on the left is an artificially enhanced image using a computer algorithm that injected information that is not from the video. The defense wasn't capable enough to explain to the judge why this should not be admitted, and it should not be. But because they couldn't explain simply to the judge, it ended up getting admitted. Now, it is a desperate Hail Mary that I don't think will convince the jury of anything because you literally can't see anything. But it is shocking to me how the prosecution used fabricated evidence, and it is shocking to me the judge allowed it. It is shocking to me the defense did not have the wherewithal to explain it's not a real image. Let me explain. Pixels. You know what pixels are? Great. I'm using 4K monitors, which is, I don't know, what is the exact number? Like 2,180 or whatever pixels in one direction. But let's go by, like 1080p. 1080, 1080 pixels. Little tiny dots that broadcast a color. And when all of these colors come together, you get your computer screen. All right. I will simplify. I want to explain some of the nitty gritty that they tried to explain, but I can simplify this for you in a second. What the defense kept saying, which is very confusing to the layman, is that when you use algorithmic manipulation on these images to enlarge them, pixels are added to the image. He asked the expert for the prosecution, what color pixel is being added? I don't know, he said. I don't know how the algorithm works, but it's a forensic software we use. Okay. So then the prosecution says to the judge, Your Honor, with all due respect, the defense is trying to manipulate. They're trying to use your ignorance of technology against you to prevent you from using what is simply an enlarged image. A lie. And the judge said, I don't understand. Okay, we'll let the jury decide. I'll make it very simple for all of you to understand how evil these people are. Before you are two images. One is bigger than the other. The image on the right is a collection of data. Each pixel is information. The information comes from light. On August 25th, light reflecting off of surfaces hits a sensor on a camera, which records those patterns. The recording is 100% from the night in question. The image to the left, which was admitted into evidence, is not from the night in question. In fact, it contains a substantial amount of data that did not come from light hitting a sensor on the day in question. That is to say, it is no different than if you were to take the image on the right and draw a picture of Kyle Rittenhouse and say, this is my interpretation of what it was. The expert couldn't testify as to how the image came into existence. He doesn't know. The prosecution should have brought in an expert who could testify to what the algorithm does. They didn't. It should not have been admitted. Now, is the image on the left a facsimile of the actual night in question? Yes, a facsimile, meaning it is fairly complicated, but it's simple to say. The defense could have gone to the expert witness and say, the image you are attempting to present in court, is it a photograph or video from the night in question? And he would have said, no. There you go. That's simple. Was the information collected in this image from the night in question? Some of it. No. Is this a complete photograph containing only information from the night in question? No, it's not. Your Honor, then why is this evidence? It is not an image from the night in question. It is effectively an artist's rendition. And it is. Just because someone used an algorithm to manipulate a photo, and they tried doing that to claim that Kyle Rittenhouse was pointing a weapon at people. In fact, if you look at the image, you can see the sign. There's a big white sign, right? In the blurry image, because the sensor actually picked up some of that information, you can see it is fairly easily defined in the image. In the enhanced version, there's a weird ghost sign appearing behind it. It is shocking to me that the defense did not have the wherewithal to simply say, the image attempting to be presented to the jury, Your Honor, is not a photograph of the night in question. It is a computer rendering from last week of what a computer thinks may have occurred. It is not a video of the night in question. Case closed, period. The prosecution pulled a fast one. Let me show you some of this stuff. This is great. Raw egg nationalist. Now, I did show some of these posts yesterday, but I want to just highlight this stuff again. Sarah Beth Berwick tweeted, I am highly educated and reasonably perceptive. And it was only today that I learned that the Kyle Rittenhouse victims were white. My progressive bubble made this seem like a very different case than it is. In this image that was posted, I don't know where it was originally posted, but the Patriots.win, the Donald Trump forum, had it. Hear Me Roar says, Kyle Rittenhouse, I am sorry I unfairly judged you and thought you were a racist. Watching parts of the trial were both humbling and horrifying. When this happened months ago, I was a sheep. I watched CNN and bought what they were selling. I truly believed that Kyle was some racist kid that drove across state lines to a faraway place armed with an AR to F-ish up for ish and giggles at a peaceful BLM protest. I believe that he opened fire and killed innocent black people that were rightfully and peacefully protesting their right for equality. This week, I learned I was lied to about what really happened. A lot. I am horrified and embarrassed by my ignorance and unwillingness to recognize propaganda. The past several months have opened my eyes to a lot of things, and for that, I am grateful, but I will own it to Kyle Rittenhouse my deepest and sincerest apologies. Take a look at this from Bill Ackman. He said, last night, Neri and I watched several hours of Kyle Rittenhouse direct testimony and cross-examination. We came away believing that Kyle is telling the truth and that he acted in self-defense. We found him to be a civic-minded patriot with a history of helping his community as an EMT and a fireman in training. In his removing hate graffiti earlier that day from a local school, and ultimately in volunteering to protect a business during the night of the riots in Kenosha. Our first-hand impression of Kyle were materially different from those we had previously formed based on media reports and opinion pieces we had consumed. I have always been frustrated to read an inaccurate press report about a subject I know well. Yet somehow I continue to believe other articles in the same newspaper about subjects I know less well. Media and political bias are dividing our country and destroying lives. While we have not heard the entire trial, based on our assessment of Kyle on the stand, we believe that he will be found innocent by the jury. I want to stress this. For those that don't understand, juries don't find you innocent. They find you not guilty. But typically when people say an innocence verdict, that means the jury realizes that this person is innocent and says not guilty on all counts. Usually when someone says not guilty, they're like, you haven't proven your case beyond a reasonable doubt. If a jury colloquially has an innocence verdict, that's when they truly believe a miscarriage of justice is occurring. He goes on to say, I encourage you to watch the trial. or at minimum, his testimony and cross-examination before you form a view of his guilt or innocence. With respect to my own political bias, I am not a gun owner nor a member of the NRA. On balance, I support stronger gun regulations and removing loopholes in the sale of gun laws. Unfortunately, it seems that society's view of Kyle's innocence depends more on one's views about gun control rather than what actually took place in August. Kyle Rittenhouse's life is at risk. Justice demands a fair trial. Society would benefit greatly if politics did not enter the courtroom and convict innocent people. And now, the kicker. Just got a call from the media asking if my Twitter account was hacked. That is, the reporter couldn't conceive of the idea that I could believe that Kyle is innocent because I am not a right-winger. Crazy. No, I'm sorry, Bill Ackman. I'm not super familiar with who Bill Ackman is, other than he is a left kind of individual. You are right-wing. When I watched the night in question, and I brought in, I think we had 5 witnesses on Timcast IRL. Maybe 5. Yeah, we've had Julio Rosas on the show. We've had Richie McGinnis. We've had Drew Hernandez. We had Shelby Talcott. And man, who am I? I know I'm forgetting somebody. But we had, I believe, 5 different witnesses, and I apologize for getting for forgetting who else we did have on the show who was a witness. But they all told us what happened. And I said, based on the eyewitness testimony and video evidence, I believe that Kyle Rittenhouse was acting in self-defense. The media immediately tried to use that to smear me. And they put it in my Wikipedia page saying Tim Pool openly defended Kyle Rittenhouse. And I know what the goal of that is, because they were lying to people claiming that Kyle Rittenhouse did things he did not do. To this day, the media is still lying, but people had a chance to watch the trial and now they're waking up. Even Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks said I was wrong. These leftists on Twitter are all like, I can't believe how wrong I was. And to this day, you get people like Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks saying things like critical race theory is not being taught in schools. When you have the a major teachers union literally publishing why we teach critical race theory in schools. Because Cenk Uygur knows his only opportunity is to lie. That's what the Young Turks do. Now, Anna admitted she was wrong about Kyle Rittenhouse, and I respect it. I absolutely do. And I hope more people on the left wake up, because I don't care about your politics on economic policy. You want to talk about universal health care? Absolutely. But we have to start from a place of telling the truth first. Now, I look at universal health care. I've long been a supporter of that and environmental regulations and policies of a similar nature. But there becomes a big challenge when the government, when the establishment political powers and the media lie. I don't believe centralizing power over our healthcare in the hands of the government would be a good thing. I believe they will use that to harm people, in which case, as much as I would prefer basic level of healthcare for everyone, a decentralized system is better. Which brings me to my more modern view on how we could have universal healthcare, a voucher system. Everybody pays taxes. Some people pay more taxes than others because they make more money, or we have a progressive tax system. And then you receive a voucher and you're able to go to privately run hospitals. And when you go for healthcare, you have government funding for that healthcare, but you can choose to go wherever you want. That creates market competition, but the ability of everyone to get access. Not a perfect solution, not a perfect at all. And maybe it won't work. The fact is, giving the government final say in how all of our healthcare is done would be a disaster. And I'm learning this because I'm watching the lies, the cheating, and the stealing. And people, we need to wake up to this, and we need to wake up others. Share this video with people who don't realize what's going on. Watch Freedom Tunes. Go to Freedom Tunes and look at the latest video that he put out about Joseph Rosenbaum, the man who died that night. He had committed atrocities against children. And it's very important you understand this. I can't say the crime he committed against a child because YouTube would probably give me a strike or do something negative to this video, because Joseph Rosenbaum had just gotten out of a mental hospital. He was sentenced to prison for 15 years for committing the most serious crime you can commit against a child short of taking their life. And arguably, maybe even not, maybe the most serious crime against a child. Wait till you read Snopes. You think I'm joking. You think I'm being facetious. No. You go read Snopes about Joseph Rosenbaum and you will throw up after reading about who this guy is and what he had done. And people need to understand that detail. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see y'all then.